Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey. And today we're talking about Week 1 action, Sunday games. Jeff, finally the first Sunday. I mean, I don't know about you, but that was quite excited about getting to talk about actual football for once.
Yeah, no kidding. And boy, did we, I mean, in some cases we learned a lot, and in some cases we'll have to wait until week 2 because a lot went down in week 1, that's for sure.
Yeah, we found out a few things, but then, man, there's a lot of disappointments today. I think I have a list here, a lot more disappointments on my list than I do guys that actually stood out this week. That's for sure. It was just very disappointing all around. And we should let's start it out with the injuries. We'll just get right into it. Talk about injuries we got going here. Because there's a couple big ones here. Mainly David Johnson and Allen Robinson. But might as well talk about Allen Robinson first because he's the one who's obviously the bigger injury. And it's going to be a torn ACL, and he's out for the year. So that is quite disappointing for anybody that invested in him thinking that, he's going to have a bounce back year and be up towards the top. So, I mean, really, do you think this does anything for the rest of the Jaguars? Like, Allen Hurns, Marquise Lee, what do you think? Does this do anything for that?
It's really tough to tell because it was such a lopsided win by the Jaguars. I honestly, yeah, okay. I think it helps Marquise Lee out a little bit. But honestly, that passing offense was they just really didn't need to do it. I know that defense, kind of took care of everything, but they're going to lean heavily on the run. So that wide receiving crew, I don't think they're going to be used near as much as everyone thought, and especially with Allen Robinson gone. I mean, these guys are fine. Lee, Hurns, I think they're filling out with Aurelius Ben and Cole, but Allen Robinson was far much more talented than these guys are. So without him, I don't see any reason why you would do anything, than what you did today, which was hand the ball off to Fournette a lot. And just let him pound it out and then let your defense keep you in the game. Yeah,
they showed right away that it was just going to be Fournette. He had 20 touches in the first half. It was just ridiculous. And that's what they're going to do.
That was the one positive thing that came out today. There was a few people that we figured out were legit, right? And Fournette is probably number 1 on that list, where he's living up to expectation. He's got the role with the Jaguars. They're going to give it to him a lot. There's really nothing in his way besides for the possibility of injury. Yep. If he stays healthy, this guy will be a fantasy producer. He looks like a guaranteed top 10 running back.
Yeah, they're going to run the ball and play defense. They're not going to give Blake Bortles a chance to lose the game for them. Because they won 29-7 and Bortles wasn't any good. He was 11 for 21 for 125 yards. He didn't do anything. Their leading receiver was Hurns for 3 for 42. It's just, man, that's ugly.
Yeah, it is. It's very ugly.
So if anybody does want to pick up these guys, this was basically an entire game without Allen Robinson, and nobody caught any balls. So I think they're just going to run the ball with Fournette as much as they possibly can, and before he breaks down. So that's the only going to be worry, is injury risk. If he keeps playing that much, getting that many carries, that many touches, that's about it. What about David Johnson here? Pretty big news there.
Yeah, and this one's heartbreaking because obviously, how much me and Craig talk about this guy. First of all, him and Bell, both of them struggled.
Oh, yeah.
For our number 1 and 2 players. I was kind of laughing because I played both of them today. And so I got lucky. But David Johnson, right now they're talking about how he could miss the next few weeks, how he possibly could miss the first half of the season. And first of all, which is huge news for obviously any fantasy football fan, because you don't want to miss your number 1 guy that long. And on the other hand, Cardinals, Palmer didn't look that sharp. Without David Johnson, I feel like their offense is just going in the opposite direction of anything you wanted to see, especially in week 1. Is there anyone on that offense that you took a look at and you want to actually put on your radar now?
No, not at all. I like John Brown this year, but I am really worried about that because it kind of feels to me like Carson Palmer's done. You know what I mean? Like you feel that in a way, don't you? Like
without doubt. I mean, he struggled really, really mightily. And what do you have? 3 interceptions against the line secondary. a Lions secondary that's nothing special, right? I mean, so, and on top of that, you have an aging Fitzgerald. If you don't have David Johnson to really scare people, which he could do it all, John Brown and Nelson both had a bad drop in the game. I don't know. And then, obviously David Johnson, if he is out for half the season, I mean, Kerwin Williams and Andre Ellington are behind him. Do you like either of these guys to help fill in the role?
Probably not. I mean, Williams came in and got 5 carries for 10 yards. He did get the touchdown, but I don't know. I think David Johnson's that entire offense. If they don't have him, I think it's going to be a rough season. I mean, he will be back. So things, this isn't a year-end injury, and who knows? He might be back in a couple weeks. But even if he is back, I just don't know if this offense can get it done with Palmer right now. I don't know. I thought he had more left in him, but maybe last year was just the sign of things to come. I mean, 3 picks against this Lions team, we weren't expecting much from them, especially, not their defense at all. So, man, it's rough.
It is. And, once again, Tom Brady kind of, he didn't look like he struggled, but at the same time, week 1 is a hard kind of range. And if I'm being honest about the kind of roles in general, QB across the board did not impress me this week. I feel like there was no one that really stepped up and looked good besides for, I'll take that back. I think Stafford is a legit guy that should be on people's radar now, especially how mightily that running game actually, they just couldn't get anything going. So they're going to have to throw the ball. So yep. I think he's a good pickup, and then Alex Smith, but I think he's probably a hit and miss guy anyway. So, other than that,
really, Carson Wentz, at least he showed me some signs that he could be a good player. I did like that.
That's a good point. That's very true. He actually impressed me quite a bit.
Yeah, and then even Jared Goff, honestly, he wasn't terrible. He's actually looks like he can be an NFL quarterback. So that was just good to see. It's not like he's a fantasy option yet, but it was good to see that he can actually play a little bit. He was 21 for 29 for 306 and a touchdown. So that was good to see.
Yeah. Once again, I don't have any interest in putting him on any of my rosters, but maybe he just won't be so terrible where, and you look at the guys that kind of benefit from that, that gives Watkins a little bit of hope. I figure, this is kind of what I've expected, even for a guy that talented, he's going to get you 56 yards or whatever he got today. What about, jumping right off of that, talking about the Rams, what about Gurley and what about Cooper Kupp?
I think Cooper Kupp's going to be solid yet, and I think the passing offense all around is going to be better than people expect. Actually, it could have even been better today. It's just they didn't need to throw the ball towards the end there. After they got that huge lead with their defense today, they didn't need to throw the ball very much. So I think Watkins had 5 catches, Cooper Kupp had the 5 catches, I believe, 2 right around there. So they didn't really need to do much more. So I think this offense could be a lot better, but the running game, Gurley, he's not going anywhere. He can't get.
It looked poor again.
It did. It's weird because we had 19 carries for 40 yards. He made up for it with the 56 receiving yards, and he had the touchdown. So I think he's going to be fantasy viable. He's still going to, going to be a viable fantasy option, be a good fantasy option, but they just can't get the run game going. It's weird. It's just.
Come on. He didn't. That's. It was too brutal to watch. What are you averaging, like 2 yards a carry?
Yeah. I don't think he looked bad.
No, and I don't really blame Gurley in this situation still. I don't know how many times I can say that and lean on what I've seen his rookie year, but I truly don't blame him. I just don't think they fixed the issue with the line and everyone said the play calling was going to be different and help him get open. If week 1 is any indication, this is going to be a grind him out season again. And this poor guy is going to take a whole lot of punishment.
Yeah, it is tough like that. I think he's still going to be decent enough for you, but I don't know. Maybe teams are going to not be able to stack the box as much against him anymore if Goff can prove that he can, make them pay if they do that. So maybe that's what we can see going forward, possibly. But also from that game, the Colts are going to be hurting for a while until Andrew Luck comes back. That's for sure.
Oh,
they need Luck back.
I feel bad for Tolzien. He is just not ready for that level of competition.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if Brissett starts next week.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. That's how bad it is. I don't know if it's going to matter who's in there. I don't think they have another QB on the roster. And, and that hurts, Gore, I think he's still ripped off about 4 yards of carry. I mean, but it's going to hurt him. It's going to hurt, obviously, the wide receivers. T.Y. Hilton is hurt. Moncrief had one catch for like 50 yards. He had one deep pass, but,
Brissett just bombed it to him.
Yeah. But, I mean, other than that, these guys are just these guys are just going to be running around with no balls coming to them. So it's really unfortunate.
All right, the other two major injuries we talk about, Kevin White out for the year, broken collarbone. That guy just can't catch a break. It's just like a break. He breaks a lot of things. But
that's got to be a wrap on his career, don't you think?
Man, it's really tough. That's 3 seasons now. Season-ending injuries. Yeah, I don't know if you come back from that.
And he was already dealing with confidence issues. I just don't see any way you can come back from that.
I really don't. And then Danny Woodhead, hamstring problems again. More the same for Danny Woodhead. That's kind of worrisome too. And I know he's 32-year-old running back. I guess this should be expected.
I know. This one is really kind of breaks my heart a little bit too. I don't know exactly, what this means for him going forward, if he's going to miss a week, if he's going to gut it out. I haven't really heard yet. I don't know if you have any more insight on that one.
No, there hasn't been really any new news yet since he left the game. So just kind of waiting and seeing on this. And
but he was being used when he was playing though, and it was kind of exciting to see. And then immediately,
yeah, and then they just wanted to run the ball, and they shut out the Bengals 20-0. Flacco only completed 9 passes for 121 yards. That's it. It was Terrence West ran the ball 19 times for 80 yards, and Buck Allen ran it 21 times for 71 yards. I talked about Buck Allen a lot on this show the last couple of weeks. I just had a feeling he'd get some kind of role, but 21 for 71 isn't too great. But
if Woodhead is, if he has a lengthy injury, or if he's going to be, Buck Allen's going to get a lot of carries, so he'll be playable. I don't know, worthwhile maybe to stash on your bench because he's still out there probably. Terrence West obviously is, already taken, but he didn't look. None of them look that great. That's the thing.
He never looks great, but he got 80 yards and a touchdown. If he does that, he doesn't need to look great. He doesn't need to be a very good player, but if they can just do that,
exactly,
you can play him. But what about the other side of that? The Bengals. Andy Dalton.
Dalton
was terrible.
There's been a lot of talk about how Andy Dalton was going to return to these great numbers. And I'm not saying he can't, because I feel like, once again, week 1, you don't know.
We don't know.
He just looked bad. 3 interceptions right off the bat. And, you had all, you didn't have Jen Brown, but other than that, you had all your weapons there at your disposal. And this guy was just, misfiring.
I worry about A.J. Green for the year if this is the truth. I can't believe, though, Andy Dalton's going to be this bad. We've seen him be better than this. I don't think he's a great quarterback, but he should be a middle of the road guy. This wasn't middle of the road. This was just brutal.
Yeah, I mentioned it was 3 interceptions to start with. I wasn't even talking about the other interception he threw or the fumble. So, the guy turned the ball over 5 times.
It's crazy.
It was mind-blowingly bad. But then, once again, I think he can get back on track. I think this is kind of probably an outlier for him. But, it doesn't give me a whole lot of confidence that he's going to suddenly become the best version of himself. You're kind of just hoping he comes back to being kind of middle of the road Andy Dalton.
Yep. Well, and then Joe Mixon, one of the disappointments for today, 8 carries, 9 yards. That's it.
It's not the "I told you so" speech quite yet, because I think Mixon will, but he needs time, right? I think it was very I don't want to say unfair, but to have in your head that he's going to step in and be the primary back right away and score all these points. He wasn't the starter on the, the depth chart. He has a lot of other weapons. So, give it time. Mixon will probably be pretty good, but it's going to take him a few weeks to, first of all, for the Bengals to get their act together, and then for him to finally get into kind of the groove of things. And, with Jeremy Hill there, that was the big worry, right? And rightfully so. If he continues to take carries, and especially in the red zone, if they ever make it there, then, Mixon's going to have a tough road ahead of him for the next 5 games or so.
Yep. I think he's better than Jeremy Hill. Jeremy Hill didn't show anything at all. He's no good. So
yeah, I'm not going to argue with that point at all, because he just is. He's more talented. But
all right, let's talk about some of the other stars of the week. How about Antonio Brown, 11 catches, 182 yards. Just keeps doing that every week. This guy's going to be amazing.
He is incredible. I mean,
he's just so good.
It's fun to watch.
Yeah, there's not much else to say about him other than he's going to do it every week. He's going to be great every week. But how about then the disappointment side? Martavis Bryant, only 2 catches for 14 yards.
That really is disappointing. I don't even know what to say about that one. I guess maybe is he a hit and miss? I mean, was he just left out of the offense, or
no? That's what Martavis Bryant's been, that's what I kind of thought he would be in a way sometimes. But I talked myself into it as the season went on, preseason went on, thinking, no, he's really going to be something. But yeah, he's going to have great weeks, but he's going to have these weeks too. I think that's the problem. And it's his first week. Okay. But again, is it the offense didn't look as good and they were on the road? I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but Pittsburgh on the road for some reason. Roethlisberger was okay, but the team just isn't the same. It feels like, Le'Veon Bell, he did nothing.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the big telling aspect of it. When Le'Veon Bell is not on, like the offense does run through him, nowadays. I think they just looked a little rusty. Everyone but Antonio Brown, who played magnificent. But, no one else really did anything. So I'm kind of giving this one a pass as well. I think Bryant will kind of get back on track, but I don't think he's going to be sometimes he'll be a number 1 wide receiver, and sometimes he'll do this, and, you shouldn't even play him. But you're not going to know. You're going to have to put him in your lineup and just take the good with the bad.
Yep, and that's what's going to happen with him. How about Tarik Cohen, Jeff? My guy, Tarik Cohen.
Yeah,
he's going to take over for Jordan Howard.
All right, I can admit this one. I didn't think this would come into play so quickly, but, he looked really, really good today. And I don't think that Howard looked bad necessarily, but Cohen is a different player and is someone they desperately need. He's much more of a playmaker. He got loose and he looked good for a run, and he had that nice catch for the touchdown. And I wouldn't worry near as much if it wasn't for Howard's damn drop at the end of the game. So he had the potential winning catch, and he just stonehands it completely, messes it up. And now, that's all he's going to hear about guaranteed for the next week. So, if he was already bad at catching the ball, which he is, it's only going to become more and more of a confidence issue, and it will give, Cohen the ability to slip in there and take more and more reps away from him. Howard will still be there on the goal line, but how good is that Chicago offense? I think Howard is fine, but he definitely took a hit today. There's no doubt about it.
But my take on Howard last week doesn't seem as bad anymore. It's not like he's not losing his job, yes, but I think Cohen's just going to take some work away. But he only had 5 carries, so he's not going to be eating away at Howard's carries very much. He's going to be the pass catcher. He had 12 targets. That's what he's going to do. So he's probably going to be. I have a feeling he's going to be like the number 1 waiver pickup this week. I think people need to temper their expectations a little bit. Especially if you're in standard leagues, he's going to be good, but not quite as valuable. In PPR, he'll be very valuable. I think he's going to be one of those players that's so much more valuable in PPR than standard. Because, without the touchdown this week, he still had a good game, but it's going to be tough for him to have. He's going to be a guy who has some bad weeks too, probably. Because Howard's not going away. Howard's going to get the majority of the work.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Temper expectations a little bit. He'll be good, but he's not going to be this player you need to put in your lineup every week. I think I'd be a little hesitant on it. All right, what about Kenny Golladay?
Hold on. Actually, I do want to just put you on the spot for a second.
Yeah.
Tarik Cohen is going to be a big waiver pickup, obviously, and I know we'll talk about this more come Monday. But right now, is he? First of all, is he your number 1 waiver pickup that you've seen so far?
I think he is. We'll have that episode, on the Tuesday episode, but he's probably there, doing my first glance. He's there with like Kenny Golladay, probably. He probably has to be. Kerwin Williams, depending on the David Johnson injury, but Kerwin Williams isn't going to be a season changer because David Johnson's going to be coming back. Tarik Cohen should have value the whole season, so I think he probably has to be the top guy.
And if you are, this is really interesting. And I know we'll probably, temper your response to this one, but if you are doing a, draft dollar type of, pickup for waivers, if you have, $100, how much of that are you willing to put on someone like Cohen?
See, I'm not going to be as much as other people, so I'm not going to get him because I would only probably go out of $100 budget. I can see myself going around the 20 range, something like that. I think I can see people going well above that. I just don't think that's worth it.
Yeah, I'm not ready to do it, but I'm not ready to go big on him. But I mean, if you're going to have to get
20%.
Right, yeah, because someone's going to get him this week. So that's one of those situations. Do you want to take the risk on him or not?
Yeah, see, I know I'm not going to be the one getting him. I'd like to have him on my team. Not saying I wouldn't like it. I mean, if Jordan Howard had gone down, yeah, he's going to be great there. But if Jordan Howard went down, do you see a situation where Cohen can be the every down back? Or they're just going to have to switch their offense up a little bit? I don't think he could be that guy. He's only, 5'6"?
Yeah, I think it would still be a change of pace back. I think it would get the majority of the carries, but I think they would just change up how they play calling, and they would have to get someone else in there as well to kind of be a bigger back, because I don't think he fills the role you would need, especially around the goal line.
Yep. All right, what about Kenny Golladay here? We've talked about him a few times.
He was my deep sleeper in preseason, and the guy just keeps on proving me right, if you will. I mean, I'm waiting for it to just fall off completely, right? Because, I mean, he is the third wide receiver on Detroit, but he not only was he in, the scheme of things, play calling. It looks like he has a good rapport with Stafford already, but when they called on him to make big plays, I mean, that's what he did. I mean, he made a diving catch for that touchdown, and then he, pretty much a fade into the back of the end zone. So what I had hoped for him being that red zone option for them, being a tall wide receiver, he looks like he has no issue transitioning to the NFL game. So I'm really high on him. I think, don't get me wrong, he's definitely going to have up and down game being the wide receiver 3, but this guy has got a lot of talent. And I think, especially if there's a keeper league, if you're strapped for keepers, I think this guy is someone to really look for. And if he's still on waivers, I would definitely pick him up.
Yeah, he's going to be a touchdown. He's going to get touchdowns all year. I mean, I can easily see him ending the year with at least 10 touchdowns. His catches aren't going to be great. I don't see him getting beyond maybe the 60 catch range probably for the season. That's probably, I feel like, his limit. But I can easily see 10 touchdowns. Golden Tate's going to eat up all the catches there. He had 10 catches again today off 12 targets. So he's going to get all the catches, but it's going to be Golladay in the end zone, I think.
Yeah, yeah, Tate is going to be the PPR darling, and it's nice to see him get off to a quicker start than he did last year. And, Marvin Jones, really everyone on that passing offense really did well for Lions today. So
except Ebron.
Once again. So this one will be really interesting to kind of look for because, Marvin Jones caught a touchdown even though he only had like 2 catches. Tate was caught 10 balls, which is great. And then Golladay really was the one that kind of stood out with his big playability. You can't really ask for much more out of a throwing offense.
No. I really think Golladay, his role is going to take away from anything Ebron could have done, I think, in a way. He's becoming that guy who's going to catch the passes in the end zone, which I thought Ebron could have been. And I'm down on Ebron at this point.
Yeah, I've completely soured, especially, and, unless you want to come back to the Lions one more, but a tight end that once again impressed me, even though he didn't get a whole lot of receptions, was Hooper.
He's my next guy on the list, actually, so perfect.
For the Falcons, he didn't get a whole lot of balls thrown his way, but
he only had 2 targets.
When he got them, oh my gosh. That is a big man that can move. So he's another one that you're hoping they keep giving him the ball, keep, involving him more and more, and he will definitely pay dividends. That's the only thing holding him back is there's so many weapons. Are they going to write him into the script? And to be honest, I don't know yet.
That 88-yard touchdown he had, it was like a broken coverage thing, so he's wide open. But that wasn't it. Like his stiff arm of that guy getting to the end zone, somehow breaking that tackle, getting there, that was ridiculous. Like, that is impressive. That's a guy who can play. They're going to find more ways to get him the ball. How many times though do you see a tight end that is like the big play guy? That's just an odd thing. 2 catches for 128, both 40 yards and an 88-yard touchdown. That's just, you don't usually see that. But then again, the offense, Atlanta's offense that was kind of a disappointment there. Playing against the Bears and didn't do much of anything.
I know.
Julio only had 4 for 66.
I can't believe the Bears actually brought it down to, at the last second play, they could have won the game. Mm-hmm. Yes, and I guess that's the big thing, right? The OC changed, so everyone was wondering, is it going to be the same? Is Matt Ryan going to take that step back? And right now it's looking like, a bit. I think that once again, I think this is one of those teams that will get back on track a bit. But once again, Freeman, it did not hurt. Yeah. And Julio, yeah, he had 66 yards, but that's going to happen every once in a while. I'm
that
not
happens to Julio.
Yeah. But yeah, Austin Hooper looked really, really good. And, going back to the broken coverage, I know people will say that, but at the same time, like that's going to happen in the Atlanta's offense. Cause I mean, you have Julio and you have, I could name off every single person. It's very difficult to guard that team. So he is going to find himself open. Like he's not going to become the number one guy they're keying on all of a sudden. Like he's going to have kind of free reign in the, middle of the field for, I don't know, first half of the season at least.
Another tight end. How about Jesse James from Steelers? 2 touchdowns. He had 6 catches, 40 yards, but maybe he's actually going to be a red zone threat here. 2 touchdowns. That's something to watch going forward.
I was going to say, I would like to hear your take on him because mine is the same thing. I mean, mine was wait and watch. I think this might have been more of a flash in the pan thing since Bell wasn't doing as well. And, Brian kind of disappointed.
I'm not going to be picking him up or anything this week, but it's somebody that's I got to keep on my radar just to see if he does it again next week, does something, catches another touchdown, it might start to become a thing. So it's something to watch. Yeah, it's definitely a watch, not a pickup yet for me, but it's, I'd still go Hooper over James probably. I think Hooper has more potential to be a really, really good tight end. James is going to be, it seems more situational to me, but I'm just going to watch it. But still, it's a good 2 touchdowns and big for him.
Yeah, it was good to see.
Also, we have quickly LaShawn McCoy. I don't have to talk much about him because this is just normal for him. 110 rushing yards, 49 receiving yards, another great game. But he gets vultured in the goal line again. And Mike Tolbert put the touchdown in. That seemed to happen a lot to him last year with Gillislee. So now it's gonna be Tolbert, but that's the life of a McCoy owner. He gets to the one and then you don't get the touchdown. It's kind of disappointing.
I tell you though, I mean, I would be surprised if Tolbert vultured as many as Gillislee did last year. I mean, it was ridiculous. What, he had like 8 touchdowns in really limited play. Like so, once again, this is why you draft McCoy though. I mean, I feel really validated about that because the guy is just consistent and he's just a wonderful player.
I got 2 more guys on my stars list for today. I'm probably missing a few, but they're both Eagles receivers, pass catchers. Zach Ertz, 8 catches, 93 yards, just a solid game. I've been talking him up, so I just wanted to bring him up. Yeah, I think that's what he's going to do most of the year is just catch, good amount of passes and get some yards. I don't know if the touchdowns will be there or not, but I think he's going to be solid. And then even Nelson Aguilar, 6 catches, 86 yards and a touchdown, showing that he can maybe have some value. Again, that's another guy that I'm not picking up this week or next, see what he does, watch him on the waivers. It could just be a 1-week thing, but Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not buying into that one quite yet. What did you think? I think
my big question, I feel like on this offense, first of all, Blount got into the end zone by catching it. Yep. So,
it's
hell froze over, but but the other thing besides for Blount and, seeing Wentz actually, perform pretty well, which was great to see. He is taking that step forward. The Alshon Jeffrey situation, which I don't think he played poorly, but his stat line was down from what people were hoping. Did you see anything out of him? Is he one of those guys, maybe one more week of kind of this kind of production? Would you go and try to get him because you think he's actually going to keep improving?
Possibly. I'd have to see. I didn't watch much of the game, so I don't know exactly how it was worked out. Like, was Josh Norman lined up on him a lot? That could have been.
Yeah, he did play. He did play against him quite a bit, and
that is going to be a factor.
Yeah, and I think Alshon Jeffrey's the only name on this roster, really. I mean, who you're going to, Torrey Smith and Nelson Aguilar. If those guys beat you, I think good for them. But it looked like, to me at least, that Alshon got a lot of attention from the defense. It looked like they were trying to shut him down, and he still did all right. I mean, he didn't get a whole lot of targets, which is kind of worrisome. He caught 3 of his 7, but he was this close to really making a spectacular grab during the game, which would have kind of spiked his stat line, and we probably wouldn't be talking about him. But then again, it wouldn't give you that ability to go after someone this talented if once again, like I said, if he doesn't have a phenomenal game in the next week or so.
And definitely, it seems like it's definitely LeGarrette Blount's job over Wendell Smallwood. 14 carries to 4 carries. There doesn't seem to be any kind of competition there, really. And Smallwood did nothing with his 4 carries he had anyway.
Yeah, that's just going to be one of those things. I think they're just going to pound it out and try to control the clock with the run game and just know that they're not going to get any big plays out of that group. So, I think Smallwood might be a dead end. He's one of those guys that you threw on your bench. I hate to say it after week 1, but I'm already kind of like him out, someone else in.
Oh, I'm probably, I have him on my bench actually, and I'm dropping him already. I never thought he was a great player to begin with. I just thought there might be a role there, and there doesn't seem like there's a role there. So
yeah,
he's going back to the waiver wire.
Yeah, question answered. So no, I mean,
yep, pretty much. Just wait and see what kind of role does he actually have? Okay, no role, so he's gone. I don't think he's not a good enough player anyway. So yeah, no need for him. All right, before we move to the disappointments, anybody else that stands out for you that I missed here?
I think that covers everyone that kind of stood out to me.
All right, except for the defenses. There's a ridiculous amount of defenses that did well this week.
I know. I've gotten burned by both of them too. I mean, or a couple of them. I hate getting killed by a 27-point defense.
I had a 28-point defense actually this week. I picked up the Rams. I feel really good about it.
Oh God.
All right, disappointments. I think we talked a little bit about Andy Dalton already. Don't need to talk about him. Joe Mixon talked about him. Both just terrible disappointments this week. How about Jamison Crowder? 3 catches for 14 yards and a fumble, so he ended up with a negative 0.6. I mean,
I know I feel bad for this one, but once again, I think the Redskins looked out of sorts. I don't think they were really in a good groove. I think that their wide receiving crew is not quite there yet. And on top of that, I mean, Crowder was kind of banged up right before this. So he's one of those guys I'm giving a pass to. I probably wasn't playing him today anyway, but just from hearing, I don't know, there was kind of issues with his hip and everything like that. So, I take it with a grain of salt as how poorly he did today. I mean, the negative aspect is really unfortunate, but I think next week that they're going to look a lot better.
Yeah, and Pryor didn't have, a great game, but he had 11 targets, so the work's going to be there. He's going to keep being able to catch me. He's going to, the role is not going away. He's going to get plenty of work. This is probably the worst it's going to be, I would say, in a way. 6 catches, 66 yards. If that's the worst it gets, that's not too bad. You can deal with that. Yeah,
and I'm a big Cousins supporter. I have been, and I'm not worried about this performance, really. I mean, first of all, there was people that did worse than him, but
that's very true.
I think this is a very easy thing to bounce back from. I think this offensive woes that they just went through today, I think is very correctable, which is great. And they have a ton of talent that they haven't even tapped yet. So
the other one, Rob Kelly didn't do much at all. 10 carries, 30 yards. It's nothing there. Samaje Perine didn't even play. So I don't know what that means. I was kind of turning around on Rob Kelly, but hopefully he's more after this because he didn't look good today. So
no, yeah. I mean, their offense in general really didn't.
Yeah, so I hope it's just a 1 week thing. Oh, some other guys. Let's talk about Seattle. This was a disappointment for me. Russell Wilson, 14 of 27 and 158 yards and a fumble. And Eddie Lacy, 5 carries for 3 yards. I think he only played about 7 snaps, something like that. Man, I knew there's a really good chance that Lacy could disappoint, but I didn't see it coming in that way. 5 for 3. I thought maybe like a 10 for 30 or something like that,
5 for 3. That's embarrassing.
Chris Carson was clearly the best running back on the team today. He had 6 carries for 39 yards. This is an undrafted rookie, and he's better than Eddie Lacy.
It is very difficult though when you only get 5 touches in a game, especially. He didn't really play. He didn't play last year. So once again, I think this is just the fact that Seattle got out to such a poor start that they abandoned the run game pretty much, and they try to do other things. And then, I just don't know how it's possible that Lacy didn't get more than 5 carries when Rawls wasn't even in the game.
Yeah, well, the snap count here. I got the snap count in here. Chris Carson, let's see, played 27 snaps. Procise played 15 snaps, and then Lacy took 7.
I mean,
no one saw that coming. I mean, Chris Carson, yeah, we heard some hype about him coming in, last few weeks, but no one really expected him to out-snap Eddie Lacy by 20 with no injury, with no Rawls there either. Like, I didn't see that coming at all. It's just, Eddie Lacy, I think again, we don't want to make snap judgments in week one, but that's a one I think you can almost make. Like, it was a close game too, and he just didn't play.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was my worry about Wilson too, because there's no doubt that he's a talented quarterback, but I think it's pretty clear that they did not take care of what they needed to as far as addressing that offensive line, and it's affecting the run game terribly, and it's obviously affected Russell Wilson as well. So their defense it's very, very good. I mean, that's no joke. We saw that, but their offense, if they don't turn it around a little bit, I mean, it's not going to matter how good your defense is. They're not going to be able to get it done.
Yeah, Wilson actually led the team in rushing with 40 yards off only 2 carries, which were just scrambles. But he showed he could still move, that's for sure. But there wasn't anything designed for him. Not one time, because those 2 were both broken plays. So nothing designed to run for Wilson, which is I don't know. Maybe I think they need to do more of that, because I think the offense was most successful when they had some design run plays for Wilson out there and let him get out there and make stuff happen. But maybe they just can't with this offensive line. They don't want to get him killed.
Yeah, I
think that's the worry.
Yeah, they're trying to protect their future quarterback. And, it's good to see him be able to scramble and run a little bit, because if you were banking on him, it kind of gives you that security blanket that, hey, he might get a few extra points. I can probably, keep him on my bench, kind of, feel out how Seattle does, even if you really want to start him against actually I don't know who they play next week, but if it's a good matchup, you could still try him one more time. But the concerns are very, very real, and I think he was just not Russell Wilson himself, but the situation is just not good for any quarterback, let alone him. I mean,
well, next week they get to go back home and play San Francisco, so
yeah. So we'll give him one more chance, and if he struggles against San Fran, then the struggle is real.
All right, some other guys. Let's see. Eric Decker, only 3 catches for 10 yards. He had 8 targets, though. The targets were there. Just didn't, do anything with them. They only had 1 point, so that's kind of a disappointment there. I thought there'd be a little more, maybe more to that. I don't know, 8 targets, and you basically do nothing with them. So,
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that is a weird one. I wasn't expecting him to kind of struggle. But Mariota had that great run in the beginning, and then I don't think he threw for a touchdown, did he?
Mariota, he had no touchdowns except for the run. Yeah.
So you once again you take it with a grain of salt, because Decker is obviously most useful in the red zone. The thing that sticks out to me in this game, because I try not to read too much into that too, because once again that wide receiving crew is really relatively new, but the new guy, Corey Davis, looked pretty good coming into his first game. And Rashard Matthews actually had a very solid game, which I thought he was going to fall off a little more. So that's interesting to see as well. And this is all why, Murray or Henry really didn't, stand out.
No, there wasn't not much there from that. But, we'll see what goes on. It just wasn't a very good game for them. But Oakland is a good team, so we'll see going forward. Maybe they'll be a little better than that, but that run game needs to get going.
And I really have their team. Yeah, I have no doubt about that. I think they will get it going. I think Oakland is, like you said, is a tough team to open up the season with. And once again, I have no doubt that that Murray and Henry, between the two of them, can do some really great things over the year. I think this is just kind of, dusting yourself off, getting back out there, and I have no doubt the run game will be back on top.
When we talked about the Bengals and Dalton earlier, forgot to talk about Tyler Eifert's 1 catch for 4 yards. That's just, I guess this has to do with how bad that offense was in Dalton. It's hard to say if that's, I think it was a terrible game for the Bengals. So Eifert did nothing. It's disappointment for him to only get 4 yards, but
yeah,
I think they'll be better going forward.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they'll be much better.
Yeah, Dalton was so bad today. Eifert didn't really have a shot at it.
All right, what about the receiving crew for the Carolina Panthers? Kelvin Benjamin and Greg Olsen both doing pretty much nothing. Benjamin, 1 catch for 25 yards. That's, not very good. And Greg Olsen, 2 catches for 18 yards. I mean, again, it's kind of a continuation of last year for Cam Newton. He didn't look I don't think he looked very good today. 14 for 25 for 171 and 2 touchdowns, but he threw the pick. But here's the problem with Cam Newton. He only had 6 carries for 3 yards. And that's what our biggest thing was against him, is we didn't think the running would come back, and it doesn't feel like it's coming back. I mean, that's against San Francisco too. I mean, again, they didn't maybe need to. They got the win, but if they can get away from having him run the ball, I think that's what they're going to do, and that brings down his fantasy value quite a bit.
Yeah, I couldn't say it any better. I mean, that was perfectly said. I think Cam Newton, you should definitely take a long look at that one. And if you were a supporter of him, try to take emotion out of it, because the guy has been, kind of going in the wrong direction as far as fantasy. He's just not that elite guy anymore.
Yeah, if that running's not there, it's just that's what made him such a great option. And just I don't think it's there, because they're going to try to get the ball in McCaffrey's hands and do stuff with him. I mean, even in this game when the offense wasn't great, McCaffrey had, about 85 total yards. So he was able to make a solid game, just over 8 points in standard league. In a PPR league, even better with 5 catches. So he's going to be the one they're trying to get the ball. And Stewart's actually running the ball 18 times, which was nice to see. They're going to keep running with him. So Cam's not going to do much. I don't see it coming at all. And then I think that's going to hurt Benjamin and Greg Olsen, as well. If they don't have to pass it, I think they're not going to this year.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, what else can you say? We were down on the offense. You want to see them bounce back, but it's just not going to. They're just kind of pivoting to be a completely run first team, which they were, but now without their quarterback doing it.
All right, we rounded out with a couple more disappointments. You got anything else that I missed there, disappointing wise?
Yeah, I mean, one major one, and this is more of the quarterback situation that's going to set up the disappointing aspect. But Savage, bless his heart, he made it a full half before he got kicked to the bench, and Watson comes in, and once again, I like Watson, but I feel like people kind of hyped what a rookie can do coming in at the quarterback position. So he struggles, obviously, very understandably so. But the fact is, how does this affect Hopkins? I mean, he had a ton of targets.
16 targets.
Unbelievable. But I mean, what do you get with that?
I think this is what's probably going to happen. He's just going to get so many targets where he's going to stay very usable, but it might not be top end level yet. I mean, 55 yards only off basically 16 targets. So 7 catches, 55 yards, but the touchdown salvaged the day. But maybe Watson can get a little more comfortable and they'll do more to it. But I think the very least for Hopkins owners, I think he's just going to be peppered with targets all year. It's going to keep him very valuable in that way. I just don't know if they're going to be, great targets, if it's really going to be huge games for him, but it's going to be enough where he keeps himself valuable, at least at wide receiver 2 level, I hope. It's kind of what I'm looking at.
Yep. And I think that's the thing. It's unfortunate and it's only week 1, but once again, I think that if you draft him as a wide receiver 1, you're looking at the, being handcuffed by your quarterback situation. And
I thought Savage would be better than that.
Yeah, I did too. I mean, I thought it was going to be somewhat better. I don't know. That's a tough one. But on the other side of it too, I mean, their offense really didn't do a whole lot. Lamar Miller did enough where, I think he keeps people shouting for Foreman for another week.
Foreman didn't. I mean, Tyler Ervin seemed to get more work than Foreman.
I was going to say, he didn't even really play.
It was more Tyler Ervin I saw in there a few times. He seemed to be getting, but maybe that's just a change of pace type thing. In reality, Foreman's the real, true backup to Miller, and Ervin just comes in for a change of pace kind of thing. That's what I look at that as.
Yep. And, so Miller rushed 17 times for 65 yards, which obviously not great. But once again, and he catches it, right? So he probably got you, 9 points out of yardage. But once again, depending on how you draft him, this is kind of what I assumed this would be a fine game for him, because I don't think he's going to have that many touchdowns. So this would be one of those situations. I would, if you have Lamar Miller, I would hope for one good game, and then I would probably try to trade him. But I'm also kind of on the Miller hate bandwagon as well. So
that seemed to be kind of the typical Lamar Miller game. Gets you about 9 points, and that's about what he does. So I don't think you're going to get too many more than that. He might maybe he gets a touchdown in there some weeks, makes it a little better for you. But I think that's kind of where he's at, and you're not going to you shouldn't expect more than that. But all right, I got a couple more disappointments here for you. We got, let's see, 4 minutes left as we're recording this. It's during the Sunday Night Football game, Giants and Cowboys. Brandon Marshall has no catches. 4 minutes left in the fourth.
I would love to say that I'm surprised, but I'm really not. I mean,
I'm surprised he has nothing.
Let's just say, you would say yes. I guess I am surprised at that, but I wasn't kind of expecting anything tremendous out of the guy first week.
And we haven't been big on Brandon Marshall really at all in this podcast. He just kind of been a guy for us. We really haven't even talked about him too much, but it's more of we haven't been excited about it. He's 32, 33-year-old wide receiver. He's probably what he did with the Jets last year. It wasn't just the Jets were terrible. I think he just was falling off a little bit. But I mean, it's hard to say today because the Giants offense has just been brutal tonight. They have 3 points so far. Their running game just can't get going at all. Perkins has 7 carries for 16 yards. It's looking very ugly. At least Shepard has 7 catches, but only for 44 yards. And it's brutal. They need Odell back. They need him back out there next week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know. How do you feel about Marshall moving forward? I mean, you think a lot of it is because of the fact that they could throw their number one on him. You think their offense is that bad? Do you think he'll bounce back at all? Or do you think this is kind of, I was so far off of him. I just didn't even really give him another thought, but having where he just completely disappears from a game, that's got to be another warning sign. That's got to be just very, very scary.
Yeah, I'll have to look into this again more tonight. I haven't watched fully the game. We're recording right now, so I haven't seen the second half. But this is what Brandon Marshall does sometimes. It feels like where he just disappears, and I don't know. It might be part of that, and maybe he just can't do it anymore, and that's part of it too. Because how can he get out there and have nothing with no Odell Beckham? He should have been the number one option tonight, but it's Sterling Shepard, which I guess makes sense. Maybe Shepard's going to step up a little bit more, but this is just it's ugly. If he's not going to catch any balls when Odell Beckham's not even out there, I just don't know what they're going to do. This offense needs Odell. I guess this is good if you're an Odell Beckham owner to really show that this team can't do it without him. They're going to have to give him the ball a lot.
And once again, Elliott, because
solid game.
23 rushes for 104 yards right now. It hasn't quite finished up. So once again,
what about Dez here, Jeff?
Yeah, he's all right. They really didn't need him today. New York's not doing anything. It
hasn't been that kind of game where they're going to win the game. They don't really need to do much more. At least he has 2 catches for 43. It's something. So,
I'm not as worried about him. He'll give people a few points. I think he's going to have a lot of touchdowns. I think he'll be fine. I think Dallas in general, especially with Elliott there, it sounds like he plays until they tell us he can, I guess, right? So
pretty much, it feels like he's going to be. Yeah, we haven't had a show since the news came down, but I have a good feeling he's going to be playing all year. But
which is now for whoever got Elliott, if that happens, oh my gosh, did you get the biggest deal in fantasy?
Yeah, now it's just next year we have to go through this whole thing again. It looks like so. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that.
But it's week 1, so I'm keeping kind of my opinions kind of tapered.
Yeah, definitely.
Mentally book note, hey, who did well, who did bad. But it feels like I don't remember last year quite being like this. I feel like most offenses got off to a good start. I felt like a lot of them struggled out of the gate today. I don't know if you feel the same way, but it was kind of ugly, wasn't it? I don't think anyone looked incredibly good.
No, there really was not a lot of. Honestly, if you really look at it, even the guys we think we liked a lot, like maybe like a Golladay or Hooper, they got all their work off touchdowns. You know, it wasn't like, and even like the only ones who really stood out. I mean, Antonio Brown stood out. He's like the only star that really had a huge game. I mean, McCoy had a good game, but it was just normal. I mean, I guess if Kareem Hunt played today, we'd be talking about that all day. But
that's true. That's true.
But I mean, I guess Fournette's like the only one I think that really showed how he's going to be able to play. But he's still, I mean, if you really look at his numbers, 26 carries for 100 yards. That's not great. It's just, we like the volume. That's a lot of volume there. He's going to get the work. I mean, and Houston has a good defense, so that's to be expected. But yeah, even a guy who's like we think the top stars, you know, barely, I mean, was below 4 yards a carry. So
yeah. So, I mean, it was a lot of grind them out kind of performances. To your point, I mean, it's very true. The guys that really stepped up and looked good again was Zeke, McCoy, Antonio Brown.
Pretty much, yeah.
To be fair, too, I mean, unfortunately, because of, you know, the hurricane, we didn't get to see, you know, Ajayi and Mike Evans, a couple of those other big time names. I know Dell was sitting, but man, I think it might be an interesting place. I think you'll be able to kind of play a little more mix and match bunches and still be able to get wins because, you know, if those number one guys aren't putting up the points that they did last year, especially for the first few weeks, you'll be able to eke out some of these wins. And I'm kind of happy because I'm eking out a win against a guy that had Bell and Johnson. So,
yeah, that's crazy.
Celebrate for me. But
actually, one last team we didn't actually bring up real quick, the Packers. Randall Cobb actually led them in catches today, 9 catches for 85 yards, then followed by Nelson. Yeah.
I don't want to give you too much props, Greg, but I think you're the only person that really talks about Cobb at length, and he actually looked really, really good. I mean, I don't think he got in the end zone, but he just was involved in the game the whole time, and I really like the spot he's in. He outplayed Devontae Adams. I
was just wondering if this was that the last couple of years was just injury related. It's been hard to say. So if he's healthy, maybe this is what he is. This guy was just a dynamic player 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was. So maybe he's just going to add more to that offense. But, and I mean, we can talk about Ty Montgomery too quick. He had a good, solid game. I mean, he had 19 carries for 54 yards. That doesn't look great, but he's able to get the 54 yards rushing. He's 39 yards receiving and a touchdown. So he's going to keep himself relevant that way. It's not going to be maybe pretty all the time, but it's going to be good enough. And Rodgers will be better. He always is later on in the year. Not too worried about him.
This offense is really, I mean, they're going to be really, really good. I like the fact that Ty Montgomery is so interchangeable. He's kind of the Swiss Army knife. But, I mean, if Cobb is looking like he is, I think Devontae Adams is still obviously that same player. And then Jordy Nelson looked dominant still. So, I mean, I think when they get going, it's going to be, I think when they get going, it's going to be very, very scary. And I think Aaron Rodgers is up for a big game next week.
All right. Well, I think that's going to be it for the reaction show. Unless you got anything else, I don't think we're missing. I think we covered pretty much everything that was worthwhile.
I was going to say, we're kind of just rambling through all these guys because we're so excited that it's week one.
Yep.
But, I mean, there's so much to go through, and we'll hit up a lot more of this stuff and get kind of more into the nitty gritty and, waivers and all that stuff coming up next week. So
yeah, we'll be back Tuesday with the waiver episode. We'll go into that and get more into probably Tarik Cohen. We'll know more about maybe what's going on with David Johnson and if we need to pick up Kerwin Williams or how that's going to work. But we will talk to you guys on Tuesday.